Hello and welcome to the ServiceNerd podcast. I am co-host James Downs.
And I'm Russ here. And we're here to chat about all things ServiceNow, everyday life as a ServiceNow consultant, new features, implementation successes, and perhaps more entertaining when it doesn't go quite so well.
Hello and welcome to the ServiceNerd. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking all about meetings. Meetings. Takes up all your calendar, and it means that you can't actually get down to the real work that you should be doing. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. But before we do that, as we normally do, we check in and see what we've been up to in the last few weeks. So I'm going to pass over to you, Russ. What have you been doing?
See, I'm laughing because I wish people could see what goes on to make these podcasts, right? I wish people could see what we're like before and after. Because only literally 30 seconds before, it's like, who's introducing? Who's doing the intro?
Just do it.
Okay, I'll do it. And we just go.
Yeah.
And if I didn't call that stuff out, no one would ever know. They'd just think, oh, those are two professional.
So professional.
People.
They're just on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one thinks that.
And it doesn't. No one absolutely thinks that at all. So it's a good topic today. It's quite topical for me. So I've been doing some groundwork, I guess, on LinkedIn, kind of posing some questions, asking some polls in terms of where do people work from nowadays? Is it home? And there's some interesting stats I'll bring up later. And I've also been kind of saying, well, if you do work from home, what does that mean for those informal interactions? And we'll get onto that in a bit. But you did ask me what have I been up to. So I have been naughty again because I've been on vacation. Yeah. Went to Center Parcs, fantastic place. Not far from you, actually. I did tell you.
No, up the road, yeah.
Yes, nice, civilized, tranquil, escape from reality. It's just nice to I don't know, unwind a little bit, I guess. Still kept up on the running though while I was there. I've got another 10K race coming up, so I still kept that up. Other than that, just enjoying the sun. You can see it's hot. It's hot in here in the UK. It's late 20s, which for the UK that's really hot. We don't do too well.
Yes. What's that in Fahrenheit? I think that's like 90 degrees or 95. I think around that sort of mark Fahrenheit.
But
yeah. So it's hot for us.
It was quite amusing yesterday because we have the client that I work for at the moment have and it's quite topical, an informal kind of chatter group, right? A virtual chatter group. And the main topic of conversation yesterday was the weather. From
how British.
Do you know what? From heat to rain to floods, in fact, someone said. And I made the comment, I've never known such a British conversation to be had. We're all discussing the weather and enjoying it. We're enjoying talking about it.
Yeah. And do you know what? I have the same thing every single year at the same point of view going, I just wish I had an aircon unit. Yeah. Every year. But then you realise one day later that you don't need it.
This is so yeah, I've been on vacation, done some groundwork for this podcast that we didn't know we were going to do this topic on until 10 minutes ago. And there's actually something I really want to ask you, right? So I'm tempted to jump on the electric car bandwagon. I know you've done it.
Oh, you surprised me with that.
And you,
yeah.
Despite your 8-hour trip to Cornwall, which is 5 miles down the road, it's kind of made me think, do I jump on that bandwagon? But do you know what, though, right? Because I was looking at Teslas. The infrastructure is pretty good for Teslas. Yeah. But I've always thought to myself, they're so expensive.
Yeah.
And to me, they are expensive because, and it goes hand in hand with the topic we're going to talk on, right? So working from home, I can tell you right now, 80% of the people answer my poll work from home. So that's 80% of us that are driving less. Makes sense, right? Yet Teslas are so expensive. So I'm thinking, I'm doing a lot less travel than I was before. Why would I spend the money on a Tesla?
Yeah.
To save myself money that I'm saving anyway. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not driving.
Yeah.
So my logical brain's going, Russ, you're being silly when you think about it. You've got all the environmental factors and everything. Yes, I get that. So I don't know. I'm tempted to jump on the bandwagon, but I can't justify the
I
The
think
massive price.
the number one selling point for electric cars for me anyway is convenience. I think because I'm a complete lazy person, I like the ability to, drive past the petrol station, going look at your weight, But then you got the same back at the charging stations when you're having to queue up, as we've already discussed.
Yeah.
Less so at Tesla ones, of course. If I was able to afford a Tesla, I think I would have gone Tesla.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't look at any. I don't know. You kind of put me off looking at anything but Teslas in your
Yeah.
dramatic story down to Cornwall. If you haven't listened to that episode, go and check it out. It's
Go back,
number
check it out,
7.
have a laugh. Yeah.
But no, I've been tempted with it. The other thing that I can't get away from, I'm a 80s baby. Sounds weird me saying that. But yeah, so I grew up 80s, 90s. I get the environmental impact, I do. I 100% get it, but there is nothing better than a V8 noise. Come on. I don't drive a V8, by the way.
I was about to say,
don't want to. I can't imagine getting into an electric car, revving it, and just going,
Well, you can get them false noises, can't you? You can get that installed. Tesla probably has a few, neat tricks.
do you know what? I've actually got I've got a false noise in my car. My car is a petrol, and I've got a false synthetic noise that comes with it.
What mode do you want to choose today? Do you want to choose rally or go for F1?
Nice. So yeah. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. But what about you? What have you been up to? You've had a haircut.
Yes, that's probably number one. Needed for this weather, I think, as well.
You're more streamlined. You're quicker at running, right?
We're not in this weather, as we found out from the Great Manchester Run. But no, other than not trying to sweat too much, I think I've been doing. I'm going to sound really old now. Sorry.
I said that paints an image for our listeners.
Glad this isn't smell-o-vision.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like really old now, but I've been doing lots of work in the garden. So I've been staining the deck. I've been trying to put up some cedar battens on the fence, which is, anyone who actually knows me knows that I do not do DIY very well.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay for a man to come do it, or a woman, of course, a skilled trader, let's say that.
Yep.
To come in and do the job for me, because I can't even put up a shelf.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
But do you know what, though? And I had this conversation the other day, right? And there's something that happens to us when we get to a certain age that I actually enjoy being out in the garden as well, right? I love making sure it looks nice, because I want to sit out there and I want to feel relaxed and it's being nice. I like the borders to be tidy, the grass to be cut nicely.
Yeah.
But we've got a whopping great trampoline which just kills all the grass underneath it, right? So that infuriates me. And when the kids are playing ball or playing out there, which, right, I'm the type of parent that you'll see them on the Switch or the tablet or whatever, instantly, get out there. Didn't have this in my day. Get outside and play. It's a nice weather, right? As soon as they're out there kicking the ball and the ball goes on my border,
no.
Ball off my border. I dug that last weekend. And I catch myself and I listen to myself and think, God, my neighbours must think, what a grumpy, insert expletive word there. But do you know what I mean? I was like, if I'd have said that to myself when I was a kid, I would have been horrified.
No, no.
So I think I'm on the same page as you, but I in terms of making my garden look nice, and I struggle because the kids are so sometimes, and I hope it's not just me. But I need to have a word with myself occasionally, and just say, look, let them have fun. Yeah, let them destroy the flowers that you've spent money and time and effort doing. Let them break it all.
Yeah, it's definitely a battle that we're having on a daily basis with screens and switches, and even if I leave my phone around, one of them will grab it and start watching something on it. Like, no, get out there, kick them out. We've got literally a play park right around the corner from us. Just go. Get out, go play. But that's I don't know, it's a different thing these days. I think you have to, for someone to go, you used to probably go like knocking around your friend's door, right? Say, hey, could you just come out and play football or something? There's none of that anymore. It's like going back to meetings. You're having to book something in advance for you to be able to play with a friend. It's like, are you free on next Friday at 2:00? No, I've got gymnastics practice or something.
Do you know what? That's a nice segue. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. What a weird saying that is, a frog.
It's a very weird saying, yeah.
I think I need to know where that came from. If you're listening and you know, tell me. If not, I'm going to Google it in a sec, and I'll tell you. Whoa, wow. But I think that's an interesting point, and a kind of a nice segue, right? Because it's technology with kids is something that, I think I'm the same as you. It pains me to watch them do it, but I understand it, and I understand specifically with lockdown, and my kids were obviously younger. Stupid thing to say. But within lockdown, it was a way to interact with their friends. And I think that's still the case, right? It's a way to socialize, because you're absolutely right. For kids to socialize now, it's like, well, I've got to check with the parent to make sure that person hasn't got gymnastics at 5 o'clock. Whereas me and you just used to get on our bikes and go to someone. It's Johnny. And because you didn't have mobile phones and stuff like that, right? So they tend to interact a lot more on social and gaming devices than they do face to face, and it's whether it's good or bad is neither here nor there. But that links nicely into our topic of the day, which is we spend the poll that I did on LinkedIn. It transpires that 80% of people work from home.
Did that shock you, by the way? Do you find that was higher than you expected?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because so let me tell you, the answers were work from home, a co-working office, which is like me and you, we work for different companies. We just rock off and kind of rock off. Hey, it's not that kind of podcast. But we'd rock up and just use the shared workspace, or go to the office. So without exact numbers, but 10% said they go to their company's office. 10% they said they use a co-working space. 80% said they work from home.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So question number one is, and I've got a very strong opinion on this, is yes, it shocked me that 80%. But question number one is working from home seen as a perk? Is it a perk to you? That's my question.
I think for me, going back probably a few years ago, pre-COVID, for me, absolutely it was a perk. Anytime
part of the contract.
I'm not based near the office. The old DXC office anyway, pound in the jar, was based in.
Let me let the dog out.
Yeah, was based in Aldershot, which is it was a few hours away. So for me to be able to work from home and interact with people and probably be more productive from home, being able to concentrate on what I want to do or what I need to do, I found that as a perk. I love being able to do it. I love being able to be more in control of my hours, of being able to work during the day. Yeah.
So question. So you've told us what it was. Right now.
Yeah.
If you were going for a job interview somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's call it Russ's Company Incorporated.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you expect working from home, or would you expect it to be a perk? Would you expect that to be a selling point? I'll go, hey, guess what, James? You get to work from home as well.
No, I just think it's one of those attributes of the job. Is like, and it's remote. It's not like, and you can work from home.
Yeah,
it's not a thing anymore. It's
that's the key. Yeah. That's the key question. Companies, recruiters, stop selling working from home as a perk, because it's just not.
It's the general accepted practice now.
Okay, so that's an outcome number one. Number two is, and it's something that I've noticed and discussed over the years, actually. But as we're working more and more from home, in order to be more productive, we especially in our line of work at what we do in terms of architecture and oversight, is that we're involved in a lot of discussions, bunny ears discussions, which transpires that in order to have those discussions, you can't just rock up and have a quick conversation by the coffee machine anymore. So they have to be structured conversations. They have to be scheduled and structured. And because our time is finite within the day, they have to have some structure to them with an outcome, right? And what I'm talking about specifically, if you haven't guessed yet, is meetings, right? So people have to put meetings to discuss specific topics with specific people. Yeah. Now that is that's part of the job. and it always has been part of the job. But one, I've seen those obviously increase because we're all working from home. It just makes sense. I'm not saying anything surprising here.
Yeah.
And they need to maintain. One trend I think has happened is they have become more structured. When we weren't all working from home, they were less structured because you were allowed that flex time because, hey, I was going to go and see him having a coffee anyway. So you had that flex time. Now meetings are more structured and more. I don't want to use the word formal, but I can't think of another word.
Yeah.
How do you? And this is something that I honed in on LinkedIn, and I actually created an article. If you want to go and check it out, it's called Beyond the Formalities. My first article in LinkedIn. I shall take a bow.
Very nice.
But it's around how do you embrace and harness the informal side of work if all the interactions you're ever going to have are structured.
Yeah.
I've waffled a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I mean, we want to embrace that kind of informality of being able to rock up and having just general conversations peer to peer, having a chat about their day even, and as long as you're still getting that outcome. And I think that's really what the piece is, because we feel that you have to be, have to all kind of have the professionalism there, the structure, the order of knowing who's doing what in the meeting to get to your outcome. But I think that kind of ideal kind of middle point is how can we keep things still informal while still achieving that outcome, what you need to get out of the meeting.
Yeah.
Without it being way too long. Because, like you say, your diaries are filling up, especially as an architect or someone overseeing or leading a implementation, for example. Your diary's just going to get filled up full of meetings. So you can't having these chats every single time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's definitely a balance. It's also understanding what position you're currently in. If you're in a project, for example, you might have certain timelines to get to meet to. And actually, certain meetings actually end up as target dates anyway. For example, you might well have a meeting with a customer on a Friday, and on the Monday, you've got 5 days to kind of prep to get to that point where you need to demonstrate something back to them.
So let me interject there. I've got a couple of points. Right? So how do you then? So we work on projects, right? With deliverables, and when we're not on customer projects, we're on internal projects. There's always a goal there, right? So how do you kind of embrace general chit chat? So what happens if I just wanted to chew the fat? That if you're in a different country other than UK, chew the fat just means have a general chat. I didn't know whether that translates well, but it's not actually. I'm not chewing his fat.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how it generally ends up being like. So, daily stand-ups, great example. So what will happen, obviously, usually they're quite
but they're structured. Yeah.
They are structured. But what tends to happen, probably at the beginning of all of these meetings, it was, hey, how you doing? Good morning. How you doing? What is that? What you been up to? You right? And that kind of ends after about 30 seconds. Are you right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're doing this today. What's your blockers? Do you know what I mean? You don't get much of that chit chat and
you don't, do
catch up unless you do. I think this is where I've been doing it a lot more with mentoring, especially as an architect in the kind of thought leadership sort of space. I have a few mentees who I meet up with weekly to then have that kind of chit chats and talk about things like.
I'm going to challenge you. That's a structured chat. It's an organized, structured.
It's not. There's certain points that we generally kind of meet. It may well be that we could discuss what they've had any challenges that week. It may well be that they're going through some, I know other things. Could be personal things. It could be about their work-life balance, about productivity.
Yeah.
It could be about a new feature. It could be anything that they want to chat about. I'm there to be, all ears.
All still work related.
Sorry?
All still work related. What happened to the coffee water cooler conversation? They go, hey, did you see the new Marvel movie? God, I'm old, aren't I?
Well, no, it was yeah. No, I think the sessions I have, that is a bit of that. It is a bit about discussing about what they've been up to and what's generally happening. But we do still bring it back to, let's see what we can do to kind of progress them as in their careers and that sort of thing. It comes back to work. But yeah, it's not a complete informal chat about just stuff.
So I think it's come for me, and it takes some thought about to get to this conclusion. For me, it's about creating the environment to embrace the informal chat, right? Creating that environment. So if you think about it at home, right? So give you an example. So at home, we sit down and have dinner every night at 5 o'clock. We're early eaters. The kids do. We only cook once, but we sit down at the table to eat dinner at 5 o'clock every night. Right? Technically, let's just call that a meeting.
Right. Yep.
Because it's a sorry, dog coming back in. But let's call that a meeting for the purpose of this conversation, because it's a structured time. It's a time that we all know we're going to be in the same place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The structure of the conversation usually goes along the line of me saying to the kids, "So what have you been up to today?"
Mm-hmm.
So so in my home life, I've created that kind of natural time to have informal chit chat. It's the same with when you're talking to your other half. Kids have gone to bed. Perhaps you'll sit on the sofa and watch something on Netflix or outside in the garden. And that, kids have gone to bed. This is now our structured time to talk about whatever we want to. Did you
Probably the kids?
Probably the kids, and how horrible.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is we are naturally creating structured times to have those informal chats anyway. We're not necessarily thinking about doing it. You will do it in your natural life. The article that I created on LinkedIn is really kind of, I think it's based around that. And this is not about promoting it, but it does create some thought. So one of the things that I've already mentioned is around an open Teams channel. You can talk, or not Teams, but it could be Slack, a collaborative chat forum that you can talk about anything you like. It doesn't have to be work related. Mm-hmm. It can be Marvel movies, it can be gardening, it can be running, whatever. But is that something you guys do at DXC, pound of the jar?
No. We're starting to do a lot more in-person meetings now, where that sort of things will occur. We do have kind of like group chats. I think I mentioned it before. We call it the tech shed, where them sort of things do sneak in. But people don't like them sneaking in as well.
because that's not the right
exactly. That's not the right forum. You already mentioned it's not the right place. People want to get stuff out of it. People are asking questions, getting questions answered. But no, there isn't a general place to just chat.
Just chat generally,
And it's very rarely started. Even if you're in project teams, you're just too busy on clients and things like that to actually want to ping someone and say, "Hey, what you up to?" And
that's the good point, because I've seen those work in some organisations, and I've seen them really work in some organisations, and not. And I think it has to. For me, you have to embrace it. Everyone has to embrace it and commit to it. You can't just have the same people going, "So, what's going on today?"
To be honest, if I seen it and I was in it, I'd mute it.
Yes, exactly. You've got to get involved. You've got to embrace it. And I think that takes time. I've been in that situation before. Where I thought, I don't really want to get involved in this. Much to my, I can't think of the word, whatever, I'll edit it. But I haven't got involved. But other times where I have, I really enjoyed it, because you can, when you come off formal structured meetings, you finish some work and you think, oh, I just fancy 5 minutes of just mocking someone about something they did last week. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is, I think this could be one of the biggest points is you can't force it. I think when you're in the office, if you're in an office and you're used to that kind of like coffee chats or water cooler chats, it's off the cuff. It's you happen to be up there and you're like, oh, did you see the football game last night? Or it's completely off the cuff about just chatting about whatever. Yep. Whereas if you try and formalize it in terms of during this time, we're going to get informal and say we're going to chat about this, it will just be blank.
Yeah. This is why it's so difficult. And that's why if you have a constantly open channel, the other thing I noticed, and I'll go on to the other points I mentioned in the article, plug in a second. But the other thing I noticed, someone that I work with, in fact, actually, point number 6 in my article is about a coffee break. So schedule regular virtual coffee breaks that people can just turn up and you can have a chat. So it's almost like scheduled water cooler, scheduled fag break. You know what I mean? Go out and have a chat. And I noticed someone yesterday on their signature in their email they actually had a link that said, fancy a chat, an informal chat. And it came such a good time. It was like, fancy an informal chat, and you opened it and it took you to a diary where they'd allocate 30-minute slots at certain days in the week. You could just pick one. So literally you were just organising a 30-minute chat with that person to just
About whatever
you like.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a good idea. I was like, this is brilliant. I need to do this. So I think it for me, it's something I'm going to do. There's an app that I found that I'm going to do, and I'm going to post it on LinkedIn. I'm going to say, look, I've got a 30-hour slot on, I don't know, lunch on a Friday. If you want to chat, we'll just chat random stuff. I don't mind.
The breeze.
Yeah,
but then, I think the problem you'll have is during the normal kind of working hours, other things will take over. It will be, deprioritized. And I think, like you say, it's that mind shift of being able to say it's equally as important to just chat to each other.
It is.
This goes into mental health and benefits and things like that.
It is. It's easy to say it'll deprioritize, and I think in the main you're right. But then I think you owe it to yourself, the royal you, to not let that happen. Do you see what I mean?
It's the same conversation as, do you go out for, regular walks during the day, or how often do you get away from your screen?
Yeah.
When you do that, you become more productive.
Do you know what? I block this hour out. So this is 12 to 1. I block it out on my diary. It says do not book.
Yeah.
Block it out. And I'll go downstairs. I'll take the dog out. Not today because it's so hot. But I just block it out. I never used to. It got to the point where I think the point you're making is you can get consumed by it all the time and just I don't want to say work, but you can get consumed by your work. But I block that time out just to get on. And I'm not convinced that I did that for mental health reasons. I just did it just because I thought it's just nice to have a break for an hour, right?
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't get stuff done. Yeah.
So I think you have to, for me, I think, and this is just my opinion, so please don't write in and have a moan. But I think companies have to prioritize that informal conversation and those meetings. One of the other things, so I'll just quickly whiz through, I don't know how we're doing for time, but the other things, we've said around keeping the chat channels open, allowing people that time and concentration to talk. We've got showing your face. That's another key one for me, is when you're on, I mean...
That's a big one.
If anyone's not listening at the minute, James and I do this and we can see each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you remember this, but when I used to talk to you before it was COVID times, I was like, well, get on camera because I think you're doing something dodgy.
Yeah, you've always said that. Yeah.
Don't like it when you're on camera. You're doing something dodgy. Don't like it. But I'm very much show your face. Let's interact.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, here's a question. So generally in your kind of like stand-ups or your general team meetings and things like that, how many people have the camera on as a general percentage?
Everyone.
Really?
It's company policy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a company policy.
So it's a company choice thing then, rather than an individual choice.
No, yeah,
I don't think that's the same everywhere, but
no, it's not. Because when I worked at Rent-A-Kill, I'm allowed to say that. I'll say it again. Rent-A-Kill. It's not a partner. Don't have to put a partner in the young. I used to work there. It's a place called Rent-A-Kill. If you are Rent-A-Kill listening to this and you'd like to sponsor us, please do so and talk to the duck at ServiceNow.com. Anyway, no. When I worked there 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we just embraced Google Mail. So we were Google House. So we were kind of one of the first large companies to take on Google Mail, Google Hangouts, and all that kind of lovely stuff. It was a company policy 12 years ago to be on camera. So to me, it's just normal to be on camera.
Yes.
But I've worked in other places recently where it's not it's a non-standard. And I think, to be honest, places I have, customers I work for where they don't go on camera, more often than not, you find it to be a secure environment that they're not allowed to go on.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's different.
Which is different. It's a bit of a shame. So that there are circumstances where you can't. So I think you have to embrace some of the other things like open chat channel or whatever. to make it work. But yeah, at the minute, my customer that I'm working for, the partner, it is company policy to be on camera, and I like that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that too, and I think it's very easy to just not switch it on and become disengaged, and that may well be what you get from it. Maybe that's probably another good question to put on your LinkedIn. I think as a nice poll in terms of camera on, camera off. It'd be really interesting.
I might do, and the other thing that I found in the open channel, and even when you've got you can have an open informal chat channel that allows you to keep that informal chat going, but also on like project chat.
Gonna close the door.
Oh well, your turn. This is what happens when you work from home, people. 80% of us are going through this on a daily basis.
I need like an on-air thing at the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I can't remember the point I was making. No, the point was, so you've got informal chats, and then you've got like team project chats where people tend to talk project-y type things like, I'll share this design with you here, and have you done the UAT? And it gets very formal. But I would say that for me is a good place to show your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And ways in which you can do it. I know, there's people that's far better at this type of stuff than me, is things like emojis, GIFs, memes, all that kind of lovely stuff. That yes, it's a formal setting where we're talking about project documents and process documents, and has Beryl done the UAT that she's supposed to, and oh no, the stakeholders. That I get, but it's fine to inject some of your own personality into it with a sarcastic GIF or a running man that we work with Mark Ballock always used to do.
Yeah.
But I think you can inject personality by doing that, because if you don't, you're just typing on a keyboard, right? The same words as I could type. And me and you just became the same kind of people, and that's a scary thing.
Yes. Yeah. So what we're saying here then? So are we saying that we need to start finding ways of having these informal chats, but it needs to be a cultural thing? It also delves into the fact of showing yourself on camera, showing your personality. That might even encourage more informal chat as well. If you're seeing people face to face and you can see, emotions and whatever else.
I think my main thoughts are lots of people now work from home.
Yes.
Lots and lots more than I thought. Right? I think we need to step up the informal interaction for those that are working from home. We can do that using a variety of techniques and embracing, Slack technology, emojis. I know it sounds silly, cameras. So there's a bunch of techniques that we can do to embrace that and create that environment.
Yes.
I think that's key, coming back to my at-home analogy with the kids at the table. So we can embrace that, get that environment ready, but everyone needs to buy into it. I think that's the key. I think people need to go into it saying, okay, I'm all right. There'll be some people that don't care. There'll be some people that just go to work and just earn their 9 to 5 and just go home.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. That's fine too. But for those who, the way I look at it, you're going to work most of your life. You may as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
what would you say to those who are like questioning whether they should do it? If you know what I mean, when maybe culture is a bit more structured, professional, business speak, and do you know what you're thinking? Oh, wouldn't it be funny if I just added that emoji in or something? Oh no, it's way too informal to do that.
Just do it.
Just do it regardless.
That would be my opinion. I think my thoughts is if you're thinking and debating about it, chances are everyone else is.
Yes, 100%. That's what,
chances are everyone else is thinking it, and I would just stick 2 feet in and just do it. You can't
be yourself.
Yeah, you have to self-censor though. You can't go into a group chat where the CEO is chatting about, I don't know, bonus pay, whatever. I don't know. You can't just put in a sarcastic Homer Simpson.
Sarcastic.
You have to self-censor. But I would say just do it. It's part of being. It's the same with LinkedIn, isn't it? Same with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like your company will perhaps post something on LinkedIn, and then you can repost that, right? So let's take this as an example. DXE, partner jar, post something on LinkedIn. You as a loyal employee should repost that or put some clever comments on that, right? 9 times out of 10, when people do that, they'll just repost it with no comments.
Yeah, with no comments and no...
Thinking,
yeah.
What I really want to put on there is my own personality. Yeah, maybe a slight bit of sarcasm. That's my personality.
Yeah.
But you will think to yourself, oh no, that's against brand. I best not do that. I don't want to get hit by the brand.
How will you be perceived?
Exactly. And it's about your personal brand. So I would say it's the same thing about self-censoring. So LinkedIn, if you're going to repost something, do it, but do it in your own personality. If you've got something horrible to say, then just don't bother at all. But if you want to add something to it, don't be afraid. And I will. This is an interesting topic for me because I'm going off on one. But I will say this as well, right? That it is quite often, if you're reposting something on LinkedIn, there is a fear that, I don't want to put comments on because 1, the branding police might moan at me, and 2, someone will call me out telling I'm wrong.
Yeah,
right?
Fear of being wrong. Yeah.
Happens all the time. Happened to me the other day. Someone commented on a YouTube video I did. Whether I was wrong or not, it's up for debate. But it didn't bother me in the slightest. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the whole point in this, is to be collaborative and people to have their voice. So I would say, if you're worried about putting something out there on your group chats or on LinkedIn or whatever, and you're worried that someone's going to call you out for being wrong, they probably will, but I wouldn't care too much about it.
It will happen. Yeah. Yeah.
I've enjoyed this. Can you tell?
Yeah, this is totally up your street, this one, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. Anyway, what time are we on? Should we be closing now?
We're on, 36 minutes.
Should we go for another 4 minutes? What should we do?
Yeah, another 4 minutes. So, I guess here's a question I have for you, though.
Go on.
Okay, so let's say, you have these kind of informal meetings, and it's embedded into the culture, and you have these certain slots that people just chat about stuff, and they love it. It's brilliant. Do you feel that when people moved more to a working from home sort of atmosphere, that productivity probably did go up?
Yeah.
When you start to introduce more and more of these informal meetings, productivity is going to go back down to what it kind of was when you're back in the office. Would companies accept it? Do you think companies would generally be accepting? We think they should, of course, be accepting of these informal meetings and things. Does this need to be sold to companies?
I would suspect that wouldn't happen, in my view. So basically, what you're saying is yes, Russ, introduce these informal conversations, but is that going to have a negative impact on productivity?
Yeah.
Essentially what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
There has been many studies only recently in the UK where companies have gone down to 4-day weeks.
Yeah.
So they've taken away time from people, and yet the productivity has either stayed the same or increased because people are getting that better work-life balance. I think for me, it would be a case of embracing all the kind of techniques, and there's more out there. The different structures you can put in place to enhance informal chats. Not be too red tape about it, because that defeats the object, and see how it goes.
Yeah. I think gone are the days where you're kind of counting hours. Like, I've worked 7.5 hours today, therefore I'm done.
Yeah.
I think life's a lot more flexible now in terms of your working hours, and
it has to be working from home. Yeah. You're telling me people work from home and they don't take their car for an MOT, right? Or they don't go and answer the door to a delivery driver because something else is going on. That's another topic in its own right. Being disruptive in meetings because of life. It happens, but it's how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
But I think, I don't think, just my opinion, backed up by no fact at all. But I don't think that productivity would go down. They always say, don't they? Happy employees, and I don't know what they say. But
Yeah. Say happy employees.
just saying there.
Makes them more productive. Yeah.
But no, it's a good point. But I don't know. These are just my opinions, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just knowing what balance to strike and what's acceptable. And I think a lot of people are just kind of hiding there in their what they're kind of used to and trying to figure it out in terms of what is acceptable. And maybe that's a point as well to kind of reach out to the organization that you work for to understanding what is their kind of policy or what are they expecting from you from home. And you'll probably be surprised to find out that they're going to be very pro mental health and, for you to go out for a walk and it's okay. Before that's a bit of a taboo, like, just getting up in the middle of the day and going away for half an hour. What are you doing? We
all work differently now. The days of 9 till 5 have gone out the window. And I think 9 till 5 is a framework. It's like ITIL, isn't it? It's a framework that you work around. 9 to 5's a framework. I think that's gone out the window.
Yeah.
And I think, companies have obviously embraced people working from home and what that means. So I think you're right. I don't think people are micromanaging employees' times anymore. So I'm not, like I said, I don't think having informal chats here and there. I mean, to be honest, if it got to the point, you're always going to have the select few that sit there and have informal chats all day, every day.
Yeah.
But that was the same back when you were in the office anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you'll see them all the time.
Have people that were out for 8 fag breaks in an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't think much has changed.
I used to know someone who didn't smoke, but instead of having a fag break, they'd just they've got their yo-yo, so they'll just go out with them with the yo-yo, just just having chats, just so they can have the similar amount of breaks as they do.
This is just in case anyone haven't listened to any of the podcasts before, but this is part of the reason you and I do this, isn't it, really? So we do this podcast to hopefully people will get some value out of it, learn, maybe have a bit of a laugh, right?
Yeah.
But another part of the reason is we do it so we can just have a chat.
Yeah.
Just generally just let loose, chat, whatever conversation we want to have. And that's why sometimes we talk about running and we talk about me going to Centre Parks through the week and your electric car and stuff, because it's just all chat. So we've created, coming back to our topic, we've created the environment where that happens, right?
Yes. Yep. We've created our informal. But nothing about this is formal.
Oh, well. If it was, we're doing something wrong. Right. We are coming up in 42 minutes.
Yes, we're past the 40-minute mark. Did you want to sum up?
I can sum up very, very quickly. Right.
Yes.
50% of people work from home. That's a lot. Employees and employers need to embrace more informal conversations, whether that's Slack channels, Teams channels, whatever, just to allow people that environment where they can chat about random stuff. Don't be afraid to inject your personality into conversations, even if it's virtually, such as emojis and clapping hands and just inject your personality. But self-censor. Don't be stupid with it. And I think in whole, when we do that, productivity will increase because relationships across the teams will increase. I know if I know what your favorite Marvel film is, I'm more likely to come to you and chat to you and ask for advice than if I didn't really know you as a person. I'm using that as an illustration. So that's my story. So I hope everyone that's listened to this has found it useful and it's still with us, even though we're 44 minutes in now. I think if you've got any comments or conversations or any topics you want us to discuss, drop us a line at talktotheduck@service-duck.com. I'm going to be going to set up like a calendar thing so people can drop in and have a coffee with me at some point. We're going to do that. Do I want to make it work related? I'm not sure, probably, but it's just going to be general chat. Don't expect anything formal. So I'm going to drop that in. So I'll try and put that in the description as well. So I think that's it. And it just remains us to say, I've been Russ.
And I've been James.
And this is Service Ducks.
That's all for today's podcast. Thank you for listening. And if you want to get your question answered by the Service Ducks, get in touch through talktotheduck@service-ducks.com or just use one of the links below.